Ready yet? Get set. It's All That. And All That was a staple for the Nickelodeon generation, and a huge part of what made Saturday night's SNICK must-see TV for children in the 90s. This Nickelodeon sketch show taught us that it was okay to be silly, goofy, wacky, and hilarious. And you know what? It probably was, well, for people like me, horrible millennials, it probably was our first introduction to comedy and hip-hop culture. Maybe. But the best thing about All That, of course, was the cast and the crazy characters they brought to life. Everything from Ask Ashley to Earboy to Pierre Escargot and Pizzaface, Good Burger, the Loud Librarian, and so much more. All That was the sketch show for its particular demographic, hitting on absurdist humor and pointing out those hilarious adult hypocrisies, while showcasing an array of musical talents. Now it's kind of funny to look back at some of these performers. Look at all these little kids banging their heads to some artists that usually have a parental guidance sticker on them. But that's what made All That. It made it cool. It was kind of bad. Of course, it never crossed the line in front of the cameras, but you knew these kids were wild and crazy troublemakers, and they didn't really worry about forcing a message down our throats or anything like that. It was made just to make us laugh, and it did. And quite a few of these hilarious characters would be, by today's standards, considered not very politically correct. And even though our humor has matured nowadays, it's still a fun show to look back on and frickin' overdose on nostalgia, if you're into that kind of stuff. But yeah, the cast was a fun group of diverse teens that worked so well together. So many talented young people were on this show, and I wish we could mention them all. But you know what? The show would really be best remembered for that initial cast and a few people who joined in like season 3.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
So yeah, taking its lead from the aesthetics and the mold of Saturday Night Live, and even the revolutionary children's show, You Can't Do That on Television, All That was produced by Dan Schneider, and was launched in 1994, and went on for season after hilarious season, until fairly recently, like a few years ago when they shut the whole f***ing world down, and all that. But the show could not have possibly gone so far if it wasn't for the foundation established by the first cast, and a few people added in season 3. So yeah, what the f*** became of them? Who the f*** continued their success? And who the f*** faded into obscurity? But yeah, let's find out what the f*** happened to the cast of All That.
Blah.
If ever there was a cast member deserving of their own What the F*** episode, it's Miss Amanda Bynes. Now, Amanda joined in season 3, but had such an impact on the show that we simply cannot ignore her. She was frickin' brilliant, no matter her age. Her cute, carefree energy, it always brought a smile and a laugh, and then sometimes it would disturb us a little, but in a hilarious way, bringing us amazing segments and characters like Ask Ashley, in which she quickly ditched her trademark sweet demeanor to brutally berate fans seeking her advice. It was the same joke every time, but it was a funny one. Amanda Bynes soon became the unsaid star of the ensemble. One could even argue that All That would not have survived without her jumping in during season 3. Following that, Amanda Bynes became one of the few players to get her own spin-off, The Amanda Show, where she brought us other funny characters. And wasn't she also in that show, That's What I Like About You, or something? People watched that on TV, right? and she would accompany that with a movie career in films like Big Fat Liar, What a Girl Wants, and the frickin' hilarious She's the Man, where she is the man. She got to sing and dance in Hairspray. Her most recent movie was in 2010's Easy A, and she hasn't really bothered to appear on screen professionally ever since, because unfortunately Amanda Bynes became a very troubled person, and it became very public. Her public troubles began in 2012 with a DUI. From there, it's quite a rap sheet. Being placed under psychiatric hold in 2013, she claimed a microchip was in her brain and it was controlling her thoughts and actions. And then in 2014, there was the revelation that she was suffering from bipolar disorder. And yet another psychiatric hold just 1 year after. That sadly takes us up to speed with Amanda Bynes. By most recent accounts, she was set to appear at 90s Con in early 2023 with fellow All That alum, but she bowed out because she's still most likely dealing with the aforementioned issues. Unfortunately, this type of destructive downfall is far too common amongst former child stars. And we all wish you the very best, Miss Ashley. We hope you're doing okay.
Dear Ashley, that's me!
To many, Lori Beth Denberg is all that. She had this elegant and feisty, perfectly precise wit that made her sketches like Vital Information an absolute staple of the show. And she would show some genuine skill crushing everybody with the ironic, loud librarian. Denberg destroyed, in the best way possible, every skit she was in, loud and proud, for 4 seasons. This talented young lady was an explosion of comedy. This gal was what you wanted in a mainstay performer. And she became just that, on All That. And then she basically became the center square for Figure It Out, the game show. And she was so great on this Nickelodeon game show that if Denberg wasn't there, it could easily push you to flip the channel. After that, Lori Beth Denberg became a regular on the Steve Harvey Show and had a very brief blink-if-you-miss-it minor bit in Dodgeball. She also had a stint on the celebrity competition circuit with that show Worst Cooks in America. Oh yeah, and we can't forget that Lori Beth also had a hilarious cameo as herself in Workaholics. But yeah, this wonderfully talented actress right here, this frickin' brilliant comedian, she single-handedly made most of the 90s pretty dang funny.
You'll seem peculiar if you go up to your principal and say, "Hey, how's your butt?"
This has been Lori Beth Denberg with Vital Information.
And then there was Kenan Thompson, who was a very strong force from the start of the series. And he stuck around for 5 seasons out of 11, which was almost the same percentage of time that he has spent on Saturday Night Live, which was 20 out of 48 seasons. Young Kenan Thompson was able to have a nice little movie career with some decent flicks like Heavyweights and the Mighty Ducks franchise, but on All That, Thompson was a goofy and versatile player, with mainstay characters like the French Pierre Escargot, the man with everything in his pants, Bag and Sag and Barry. He was a superhero called Super Dude, and of course the chocolate-loving Randy, which was a skit that became so popular that even the late, great Chris Farley had to get in on it. Kenan Thompson and fellow castmate Kel Mitchell would become so popular that they even landed their own show. A funny sitcom about 2 friends who find themselves on wacky adventures called Kenan and Kel in 1996. Later on, he would get his own sitcom on, mainstream grown-up TV called Kenan, earning him an Emmy nomination.
s'il te plaît, enlève ton banjo de mi nombril. Please remove your banjo from my belly button.
After he spent a few years bopping around with bit parts in movies and one-offs on TV, Kenan Thompson landed Saturday Night Live. You know, all that for grown-ups. And through his charisma and natural ease, Kenan Thompson holds the record for the Saturday Night Live cast member who stayed on the show the longest in all of SNL history. He had many funny bits and characters, like What's Up With That, Black Jeopardy, Gene K. Gene, and many more. And it's no wonder why he has been put in more than 1,500 sketches on Saturday Night Live. Kenan also had quite the movie career, playing Fat Albert, and he was in the Trolls movies and other stuff that was, you know, kind of popular. And of course, we all have Good Burger 2 to look forward to on the burner. I really hope it's funny.
Man, you almost car-burgered me to death. The new adventures of Ed and Dex starts now!
But of course, one cannot mention the name Kenan Thompson without talking about his de facto right-hand man, Kel Mitchell, whether Kenan likes it or not. But yeah, rumor has it that Kel Mitchell actually lost his Saturday Night Live audition directly due to his buddy Kenan. Saturday Night Live was like, we can't have Kenan and Kel on Saturday Night Live. That's too much Nick. But yeah, who cares? Kel doesn't need Saturday Night Live, because he created so many legendary characters on all that. There's Good Burger's Ed, who may have dropped his brain in the fryer. There's the wildly inept and harmful Repair Man. There's the hilariously miserable and accident-prone gym teacher, Coach Cretin, and many more. And you know what? Quality-wise, Kel Mitchell may have the best lineup of characters. Mostly because this guy is a frickin' fearless performer. After leaving all that in 1999, Kel Mitchell kept busy enough, although there's mostly nothing you care about, except for, of course, the show Kenan and Kel and the movie Good Burger. But Kel Mitchell did have a show called Game Shakers, where people would shake up games. Oh yeah, and he was that invisible dude in Mystery Men, which made us all think that he was gonna have a movie career, but he didn't really. And it's a mystery, why not?
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
Mr. Mitchell has also kept very loyal to all that by appearing at many comic conventions and expos. It's not exactly the most glamorous look, but he did it beautifully. And you know what? He was so good in all that he can't really escape those days. The dude is stuck in the 90s and has proved to be an all-time fan favorite because he's been featured on numerous shows, everything from The Tonight Show to Saturday Night Live, alongside his sometimes BFF Kenan. But yeah, these little appearances here, they gave us a major mega hit of that sweet 90s nostalgia. Kel also tore it up on Dancing with the Stars, almost taking it all, which must have been because of that Dance Foo, which was the name of a movie he co-wrote. And Mr. Kel has been very vocal and has used his platform to share his Christian faith with all of his YouTube subscribers and anyone who will listen, I guess. But today, as you know, Kel Mitchell is headed for Good Burger yet again, in the sequel that we've been waiting decades for. And we simply cannot wait for this dude to take our order.
Can we get you a drink or something?
You know what? Can I get a Good Burger?
Oh my God!
Topping Kenan and Kel's 5-season stretches is the magnificent Josh Server. better known as the bumbling Detective Dan, and Earboy, who has enormous ears. And Server holds the All That record, topping out at 6 seasons, making him the Kenan Thompson of All That, if all that makes any sense. Like so many in the All That cast, Josh made the Nickelodeon rounds, turning up in the secret world of Alex Mack, appearing in the Good Burger movie, hosting Oh Yeah cartoons, and he served as a figure-it-out panelist. That's kinda the bulk of his career, with his most recent Nickelodeon outing in 2022 for the show Warped. Showing his faithfulness to his All That family, he spoke at Kenan Thompson's Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony. That's nice. Yeah! Perhaps the last remaining widely recognizable cast member was Katrina Johnson, whose appeal and feisty persona held people over until Amanda Bynes came on board. Throughout her 3-season run, Johnson's most famous character had to have been Ross Perot, something that went over all of the heads of the target audience, because of politics. But she was still so amusing and hilarious that we didn't care. We didn't know who Ross Perot was. She was just doing a silly voice, saying silly things, and it was like, hey, look at this little girl dressed as an old man. Comedy gold. And who can forget the girl at the lemonade stand, who is essentially extorting people for a garbage product, which equals comedy gold. Okay, so are you ready for her post All That life? Well, Katrina Johnson has gone all in on the social media lifestyle, where she pretty much just wears bikinis all day long. Another 3-season player was Alisa Reyes. Unfortunately for her, despite hanging on for a 3-season run, she never really got the chance to have a real impactful character, at least not on her own. She was part of the brilliant twosome, her and Lori Beth, in The Island Girls, which was the one skit that really gave Reyes the showcase and the character she deserved. Following all that, Alisa Reyes kept working mostly in one-offs, albeit on great shows like NYPD Blue, ER, and 6 Feet Under. However, she did land the animated series The Proud Family, staying for the majority of its episodes, and she was able to hang on to this, partaking in the 2022 reboot, which is actually headed for its own 3rd season.
Would you like to, go out with me? Okay, call me later.
Which brings us to the final member of the prime original All That cast, Angelique Bates, who stayed on for the first 2 seasons, the shortest tenure of the lot. Like Alisa Reyes, Miss Bates was never truly given her due, but served as a counterpart to some of the show's best, like Mandy to Kenan's Chocoholic Randy, and Earboy's equally mutant lady friend. She did have a wonderful Steve Urkel impression, but that can only get you so far. In the years that followed All That, Bates found 2 very big things. A memorable character on Tim and Eric Awesome Show Great Job, and God, taking on the role of an ordained minister. She also appeared on Couples Court with her cheating boyfriend.
I'm just sitting here talking about how I think I'm about to get proposed to, and she's actually sitting at the table already. So, wow.
But sadly, Bates claims that while on All That, she was, quote, physically, mentally, and emotionally abused by some sick and twisted people who worked behind the scenes. This shows us that even though Hollywood and show business can bring us fun and silly kid shows, there is a dark side in this particular industry and many others, and sometimes there are people who take advantage of being around children, and this brings some of the dark and evil things that go on in the weird, twisted land of Hollywood land. There were other players in the history of all that, like Leon Frierson, who went on to become some sort of a rapper, Christy Knowings, who dabbled in her own music career and hit the streets, the Sesame Streets, that is, and of course, eventually Danny Tamborelli would join the cast. He was one of the few who had a strong career before all that, starring in the brilliant Nickelodeon show The Adventures of Pete and Pete. He was Pete. No, not that Pete, he was the other Pete. But nothing really tops the first cast. There are other celebrities that we can't really forget who would eventually join the cast of all that. People like Nick Cannon, Fluffy, and Britney Spears' sister, but they didn't really become famous because of all that. Nor did they really have an impact or a memorable character. At least I can't think of any, because when they were on the show, I was an old person.
Too old to watch that childish, all that silliness. It's just foolish. 'Cause I'm a grown-up man, adult man.
Hello!
And actually, quite a few of the OG All That cast eventually returned to the show. So we got to see grown-up versions of Detective Dan, and Ed from Good Burger, and the Loud Librarian, and whatever Kenan was doing.
All right. Ready yet?
Get set. It's all that.
Wherever the f*** they are now, and whoever the f*** they became, one thing is for sure. These brilliant, hilarious, funny youngsters brought so much to so many on our Saturday nights in front of the boob tube. Without them, and every skit, which was really hilarious to our adolescent minds, without them, that big orange couch would be empty. And that's just sad. So, you know what? It's kinda okay to give a f*** about what the f*** happened to the cast of All That. Because even though most of them are doing just fine, you know, there is a lesson in here somewhere.